Okay, in this video, I'm going to be explaining the 5 phases of scaling a content agency or really any creative agency in 2025. I myself have grown my own content agency to multiple 7 figures in revenue over the past few years. I started this back before short form content became popular, and I've grown it into a really great source of income for myself. I built a name for myself. I work with huge podcasters. I work with some of the biggest names in their particular industry with millions of followers. I own equity in many personal brands, and I have dozens of clients that pay me to help them with social media and advise them on how to actually grow and monetize their audience. If I was starting again, this is how I would summarize my own journey into 5 steps. And if you can follow this, if you follow these steps a little bit more closely, then you should be able to scale your content agency much faster than you already are. So phase 1 is always going to be free work. Okay. When I first started my very first agency, I refused to do free work because I was coming from an e-commerce background where I was making decent money, and my ego didn't want me to really work for free. It took me 6 months of just hammering sales calls and cold calls to get my first paying client. Whereas if I had just done some free work for the first in the first 2 months, I would have landed a paying client much sooner. So you need to get your feet wet by doing free work. Okay. And by feet wet, I mean you need to understand how to speak with clients. You need to understand how the flow is going to be from when you onboard a client to the communications on a weekly or bi-weekly basis to figuring out, what kind of team members you're going to need for each step to actually creating the pieces of content or the creative work that you're going to be doing, and actually get a full understanding and build your process from A to Z, so that when you do want to charge money for your services, then you aren't just kind of wandering around in the dark and you look like an idiot, when you're trying to portray yourself as a professional that is accepting high ticket prices. You want to have already ironed out all of those kinks before in your free work period, and basically dial in your process, and hopefully you can get results in that stage. It's very rare that you can get good results for your first few clients, but if you had paid for some kind of mentorship from someone who has a successful creative agency already, then you should be able to deliver results for those clients much more easily. But if you're if you're on the path where you're just figuring it out for yourself, the chances are that your first clients are not going to have great results. So it's better to not get results when you haven't accepted money for it, because if you accept the money, you're going to have to refund if you didn't get results. Okay, so do free work in the beginning, get 2, 3, 4 clients for free, get some testimonials, get some case studies if you get results, and you'll be able to leverage that later on. Okay. The second phase, and this is the biggest mistake that creative agency owners make, especially people in the content space and the personal branding space, is they don't build their own personal brand. They don't practice what they preach. They have not built an audience on social media. Before I ever started offering content services, I already had an audience on Twitter of 10,000 people. I had an audience of I think it was 60K on TikTok. I had 30K on Instagram, and that was before I ever started offering short form content services as a paid service to my network. But once I had actually built my personal brand, then people seen that I had credibility, and I didn't even need to outreach clients because people would just see what I was doing. They saw the virality that I was getting, and then they came to me. In my first month, I mean, this is kind of crazy, but and I had the benefit of an existing personal brand, but I signed 15 clients in my very first month of running my content agency. And that was because I had built my personal brand, I had built my social proof, and that made everything 100 times easier from there on out. People that run creative agencies, content agencies in general, they struggle because they don't want to put in the time and the effort to build their own personal brand. And then when they are doing outreach, when they're contacting people saying, hey, I want to help you grow your personal brand. Well, that person, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to look in your profile. They're going to see no content, no followers, and they're going to think that this guy is delusional. He is an idiot because he's saying that he can help me grow, but he doesn't even have an audience himself. He doesn't have any results to speak of. Okay. So you absolutely must build your own body of work, your own social media that shows the work that you can do, that shows that you know how social media works, that you can grow social media audiences. Because if you don't have that, you're not going to be able to scale. Okay. You're not going to have any credibility. The third stage, once you have built your personal brand, and this is something that people don't leverage, they forget that they can even do this. Once you have even 10,000 followers, you can, I know I said even 10,000 followers to some people, that may as well be a million, but realistically, it's not that many followers, especially on Instagram. Once you have 10,000 followers on Instagram, on Twitter, on wherever, you can start DMing famous people and get replies, because famous people, it sounds kind of conceited and a bit, whatever the word is, but they just won't reply to people that don't have like followers. Okay. But if you have followers and maybe a blue tick and you got a solid username and a solid profile, they will quickly tap your profile and see if you are worth replying to. And if you have no followers and you're asking for something, they're going to be like, nah. They're just going to leave you on red, or they're not even going to read your message in the first place. But if you have followers, they're more likely to open your message and read it. They're more likely to click on your profile, and they're going to be much more likely to actually respond to your request. Even if they're telling you no, right? Even if they're saying, no, I don't need this, you're still getting somewhere, right? But you're going to have a much easier time to land a much bigger client when you have a following. And that's one of the things that I did. Was once I started building up my following, I started DMing a lot of bigger creators, and I would DM a lot, and I wouldn't get that many replies, but I would get a good amount of replies, and I won't name them because I want to protect their essential, their marketing plans, because some big creators, they don't like agencies taking credit for the growth that they've got on social media. But we have worked with a lot of people like that. But I won't name them, but I would DM the biggest of the biggest creators, and I would get responses from quite a few, not from everybody. The response rate as a percentage is very low, but when you end up with 10 replies out of hundreds from really big names, then obviously that is a great result. And essentially what you want to do is, again, go back to the free work or extremely low cost work. And what I did was I reached out to them and I said, and I won't reveal exactly what I said because, I'm still kind of using the strategy, but say, hey, got this thing. Do you want it? Do you need it? Or do you know anyone that needs it? And some people would say no. And some people would say, yes, I want it. And then I would kind of just go from there, and I would give them basically this offer and say, hey, I will do this for you for this amount of money. Just so you know, I'm not going to make money on this. I'm literally losing money on it. But the whole purpose is to get my foot in the door and, get you great results, show you that, there's potential here. And if you like it, if it gets results, then, we can have a proper conversation about doing this more officially in a more official relationship. Does that sound fair? They'll say yes, they'll say no, whatever it is. But the people you say yes, great, give me your email, give me your whatever, and you just email someone from their team or them specifically on the next steps of the project, and then you get to work on the project. Okay. Then if you do some great work for that person and they end up maybe posting your content or using your assets, whatever it may be, if it's emails, if it's funnels, if it's content, if it's ads, whatever it is, if they use it and they've given you permission to essentially or they have not given you or they've not explicitly said you cannot use that as an example, then you can now put that on your website as long as they have actually used it in a real scenario. And ideally, they should have gotten results. Okay, I never put anything on my website or my funnel or my portfolio that didn't generate results. Okay, you don't want to get on the wrong side of people. If you do them a bunch of emails or content that they posted it but it didn't get results, and then you go around flexing that to people, saying, "Oh, I worked with this guy and that guy." It's going to come back to bite you, because people's going to ask them and they're going to be like, yeah, we did do something with him, but they sucked, right? It's just not going to be good for you, right? So as long as you get results, you can then post about it on your social media. You can post about it on your website. And that is essentially what whale hunting is. Okay. And I kind of leaked into step number 4, but step number 4 is leverage the results from the whale. Okay. So once you actually get results for a famous person, a big company, then just post about it like crazy. Record client interviews, record case study breakdowns of what you did and how you did it, and just use that person's name in your content, in your case studies as much as you possibly can. If they are happy enough to give you a testimonial, you can use that for social proof. Put it as your very first testimonial on your website, so everybody sees, damn, he worked with like this famous guy, this famous company. They must be legit. People think that you need dozens and dozens of testimonials to sign clients and have authority. You literally just need one from one really, really good client, and then people will just assume that you're like the top dog, essentially. So as long as if you can nail just one amazing testimonial from one big name, that is going to set you apart from absolutely everybody in the space, and it's going to give you instant authority, and essentially people are going to be much more happy to work with you, much more eager to work with you because you are now associated with a really big name. Okay. And the fifth stage is you've now, you've got a really big client, a big name. You've taken that name, you've leveraged it into more deals, right? Maybe you're sitting at between 6 and 10 clients, active clients. You might be sitting between the 30 and the 50K per month range at this point. Now you have two routes in order to scale this thing up further, okay? The first route is to scale traditionally, which is just take on more clients, the same price. And, if you want to get to 100K per month, you might need, 20 clients at 5K or less clients at 8K, whatever it is. You can raise your prices to have less projects, which I always recommend that if you're getting the results and you have a really high quality service. I can go over that in another video, exactly how to deliver a high quality service. But if you can raise your prices, you should do so and take on more clients. And that's essentially how you're going to scale your business, okay? You're going to have, you can't just take percentages sometimes from some clients. You might just have to take on more and more projects and bank up your retainers essentially. Another option is, and this still falls under the scale traditional model, is to upsell existing clients. So if they're on a smaller package, you might want to upsell them to a year-long 6-month, year-long contract. You can maybe get them to pay up front for some period of time. That's going to be a way for you to collect more cash up front, and it's going to essentially give you more security. But more clients, higher prices, longer term deals. This is going to be the scaled traditional route. Or you can go the other route, which is essentially what they're calling the growth partner, growth operator, which is just, they didn't invent the concept of taking a percentage of a business. That's been happening since as long as businesses have existed. But if you have some great relationships with your clients and you're getting them really good results, then you might say to them, hey, I want to create your product. I want to build your funnels. I want to write all your copy. I want to handle your sales process. But I want this percentage of your revenue, right? And depending on the client, if they're already filthy rich, it's likely that you're not going to get, a high percentage. If they are, they have a good size audience and they haven't really launched a product yet, you can get up there with the 50% mark if you're handling everything. If they're just the on-screen talent, they're kind of for example, it might be a high-ticket community, kind of delivering everything. But you're the operator, you're setting up the communities, doing the links, maybe running the ads, you're coming up with all the content ideas, you're editing it, you're planning the launch campaigns, the weekly promos, you're maybe writing a webinar, you're writing landing pages, emails, you're doing all that stuff, then yeah, you can command 50%. You can even command retainer plus percentage as well. With people that have really big audiences already that are already monetizing without you, and you think you can add something on top of that, then you can ask for a smaller percentage. Anywhere from 5 to 20% is reasonable. Obviously, again, depending on the value that you bring to the table. And that is the second route to grow. Because if you find yourself with a really, really great client who is great on camera, they're consistent, they're not lazy, they actually do what they need to do, they hold up their side of the bargain, then these kind of relationships can net you multiple 6 figures per month if you're with the right person, okay? And so those are the two different routes to scaling in phase 5. When you're at like 50K per month, you either scale traditionally with more clients on retainer, or you go like this hybrid route where you do percentages with much less clients and you kind of focus on them. I will say with percentages, you want to secure yourself and make sure that you have very long-term contracts in place at minimum 1 year, because you don't want to, commit basically 100% of your effort into 1 or 2 clients. And then after a while, they're like, you've given me the sauce, you've given me the formula to do this, I'm just going to do it myself. And then they leave you high and dry. You need to protect yourself. Everything you write, everything you build, the funnels, the emails, it's all your intellectual property, and you're essentially lending it to that client, okay? You're not building them sales processes and, landing pages, emails, and all that stuff for free. You're lending it to them. And if they make money from it, you get your percentage. If they, try and ditch you and still use your assets, then, there's going to be consequences. They're not in a contract. I will say as a bit of a bonus tip, as a creative agency, your contract is, people say they got to do handshake deals. I'd never like doing handshake deals. I want it in writing. I want it signed by the client to agree to it 100%. And if they break that contract, then there needs to be, and they owe money, then there needs to be consequences if they decide not to do that. I never like to be in the position where someone can essentially screw me over. I like to have my rights secured in advance, and I like to, first of all, work with people that are never going to do that. Thankfully, I've never actually had to exercise those clauses. But I'm just telling you that if you are going to go down that route, you need to make sure that you have a really solid contract, because, nobody wants to use their insurance, like their car insurance. No one wants to get in a crash, but if you do get in a crash, you're happy that you have your insurance, okay? And your contract is your insurance, okay? If you don't have that, you might get screwed. And so those are the 5 phases of scaling a content agency. If you want my help with this kind of thing, just DM me on Instagram, and we can chat and see if it's possible for me to help you. If you're at a good level already, a couple of clients, then that's the kind of person I can help. If you're starting from absolute zero, it's not going to be, there's no point in me really helping you. You just got to go through the free work phase that I mentioned in this video. But if you're already at the 5K per month level and you want help scaling up to 50 to 100K per month or more, then just drop me a DM on Instagram and we can see if we can help. Other than that, like the video, comment, subscribe, and check out the links if you want my help to actually scale your personal brand on social media. And that's pretty much everything. And I'll see you in the next one.